The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
Skywalking through classic Marvel. Skywalking through classic Marvel comics.
Long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, there exists a state of cosmic civil war. A brave alliance of underground freedom fighters has challenged the tyranny and oppression of the awesome galactic empire. This is their story.
That was how Marvel caught readers up in each of their 107 issues back in the vintage era of classic Marvel Star Wars comics.
Speaking of vintage era, well, I am Richard Woloski. And I want to welcome you all to Classic Marvel Star Wars Comics. I am here to take you through these classic stories, share memories of reading them as a kid, and get you caught up with these characters and situations that every Star Wars fan must know.
Well, hello, comic book fans. I'm Sarah, and on this show, we take you through each issue of the vintage comic series from 1977 to 1986. And now I am here to give you my new 21st century perspective, since this is the very first time I'm reading these comics.
Randy, your turn. Randy.
Randy Martinez, he's taking a leave of absence right now since his workload is really pretty heavy lately.
Really? I thought he was on with us.
No, it's just us today.
Randy? Meanwhile, Randy?
Meanwhile, Randy's working.
That is very, very true. If you've seen his Facebook page, man is very, very, very busy. He's got a lot of stuff coming up and needs to take a little bit of time off.
But that's okay. I think we can talk about this ourselves. What do you think, Richard?
I think we can do that because I was there back when this issue first came out. But we'll get to that in just a few minutes. However, we got to say this, that back on May 29th of this year, Marvel continued this classic line after 33 years and published issue number 108.
What?
After 33 years, they brought back this classic Marvel Star Wars line.
Are they going to continue it, or is this just like a one-off?
It is a sequel
Okay.
to issue number 50.
Oh.
This issue 108 is titled Forever Crimson, whereas issue number 50 is titled Crimson Forever.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so they flopped the titles there. And you know what? When we were at Disneyland, they had this issue number 50 on sale.
Oh.
And I always wondered, why this issue?
Okay.
Why did they reissue this issue number 50? Now we know, because it's the precursor to issue number 108.
Okay.
But they never made like a big tie-in deal of it. They should have had like a 2-for-1 deal, a 2-pack.
Yeah,
You
like
get
with like
both
cool
comics.
packaging and stuff.
Yes, they missed out on a great opportunity.
I'll say.
I know. I would have bought it and never opened it.
Well, who is in this issue 108?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because they brought back, not Who Jibs, unfortunately, but they brought back, guess who? Jackson.
Oh, well, yay. Well, one bunny. That's another bunny.
Oh, that's very, very true.
Yeah.
They brought back Jackson, Ameza Fox Train, Valance the Hunter, Domina Tag, and once again, I gotta keep saying it, they brought back Jackson.
Now, who's Domina Tag?
Tag family, they were a very wealthy family that pretty much funded a lot of the Imperial starships.
And in A New Hope, don't we see Tag?
Well, we see General Tag.
General Tag, okay.
Yes.
Right, well, that's what I meant. Like, we see a Tag.
Very much so.
Okay.
Yeah, you can always tell Tag, he's got that very raspy voice.
Okay,
And
cool.
that very 1960s hairstyle. And here's his scene from Star Wars A New Hope.
Until this battle station is fully operational, we are vulnerable. The Rebel Alliance is too well equipped. They're more dangerous than you realize.
Dangerous to your Starfleet, Commander, not to this battle station.
The rebellion will continue to gain support in the Imperial Senate.
The
as long-
Imperial Senate will no longer be of any concern to us.
So, what I think we'll do after this story arc that we're going into right now with issue number 18, then I think we should we'll jump ahead and review and break down issue 50 and 108.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we should do that.
Yeah. I really wanted to do that for this episode, but it's been 15 months since we've put out a last classic Marvel Star Wars comics, and that would have taken us a little bit longer.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, yeah, but luckily we kind of took a break when there was a break in a story arc.
Yes.
So the last issue, number 17, was Crucible. And that was a flashback in Luke Skywalker's life, and it was a standalone issue, really, to break up the different story arcs. So now here we are with issue number 18, The Empire Strikes! And we're going to begin this all-new story arc featuring all of our core heroes.
All right, now this issue here, let's go through the synopsis of the plot.
Okay.
Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, 3PO, and R2 are in the Millennium Falcon when Luke Skywalker suddenly passes out during a Jedi training exercise. They drop out of lightspeed to get him medical help, but run into the Empire, who chase the Falcon to a brand new location, the Wheel, which is a huge gambling center in outer space. The rebels scatter on the Wheel, the Empire is in pursuit, and that's where this issue ends, on a cliffhanger.
As always, I mean, you got to be ready for the next week or month. Do these come out monthly?
These
or
are monthly,
weekly?
yes.
Oh, monthly?
Yeah.
As a kid, how do you remember these story arcs? Like when you're reading comics?
Well, like I've said in the past, I've never really read the comics. I looked at the pictures.
Looked at the pictures?
Yeah. Even though there was a month in between issues, would have taken me at least 2 to 3 months to get through one issue.
Okay. Well, then I have another question. Did you read other comics besides the Star Wars ones? Or did you look at the pictures for other comics besides the Star Wars
No.
ones?
As soon as Star Wars came out, the other comics went into a drawer, and that was it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even though they're monthly?
Oh, you know what? Okay, an addendum onto that.
Yeah.
I was an avid reader of Archie.
Oh, wow.
I love Archie because it was so light. Whereas these comics were just so dense and so many word bubbles, and
Oh, yeah.
and the artwork was so heavy, and I needed something light, so I went and do Archie.
It's kind of like how we watch our dramas, like Ray Donovan, and then we'll
Then
watch
all of a sudden
like a fun,
you need like
happy
Powerpuff
show.
Girls.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the release date for this issue, The Empire Strikes, was September 26th, 1978.
This comic is older than me.
You'll be saying that in the next, 50 podcasts?
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, let's talk about this title, The Empire Strikes.
That sounds very familiar.
Now, Star Wars Insider did an article on the classic Marvel Star Wars comics and mentioned that Marvel was prophetic and that it was so close to the title, The Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
Well, really, it was around this time that Gary Kurtz was doing interviews about Star Wars, and of course, sequel talk always came up in the interview. Well, he knew this wasn't going to be a regular sequel, so he started floating around the name The Empire Strikes Back.
Am I right in saying it? You actually came up with the name, The Empire Strikes Back. Is that true?
Yes, it was kind of a joke, really, in a interview in Paris when we were promoting the first Star Wars. And at that time, since they didn't open in Europe until months later, we had already decided on shooting the sequel and had not been named. It was called Star Wars 2 as a working title. And one of the reporters asked, well, what is it going to be called? And I said, well, probably a Flash Gordon 1930s kind of name like The Empire Strikes Back.
And it stuck.
And we couldn't come up with anything better, so we stuck, yeah.
So a joke that essentially became one of the most iconic film titles of all time.
Yes, but actually it was a steal from some chapter of some 1930s serial, not Flash Gordon, but something else, actually.
And a few weeks later, on October 12th, 1977, Variety revealed that the temporary title was The Empire Strikes Back. so temporary that
Yeah.
40 years later, we're
It's
still
still there.
calling like, okay, what's the name really going to be?
ESB. Hashtag ESB. That's the title now.
Well, there you have it. Now, I think the folks at Marvel caught wind of this title and ran with it. And I'm sure George Lucas did not appreciate that.
Oh.
It's like, guys, we had this under wraps.
Yeah.
But then again, Gary Kurtz was talking about it. But really, Gary went on his own. He didn't really talk to George about it. Of course, there was a story conference where the title had come up, but I don't think George said, okay, go out there and start releasing the title. Gary just didn't want anyone calling it Star Wars 2 anymore. So he just said, okay, stop calling it Star Wars 2. For right now, call it The Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
And now Marvel has it, and all of a sudden, boom, it's out there. And I recall, even as a kid, seeing that title, The Empire Strikes, I thought, wait a minute, is this The Empire Strikes Back? Because at that time, I had heard, I don't know where, that the trailer hadn't come out yet, but I knew the title, The Empire Strikes Back. And this was also on a Topps card, too, where one of the captions was The Empire Strikes Back. And so this name was out there.
Okay.
It was a runaway train going downhill.
So when you saw the
It was
title,
a Convoy X. What?
What?
It was a Convoy X, yes.
Convoy X?
Yes, Convoy X, running down that snowy slope.
So when you saw this title, did you think you'd get a preview
Yes,
of the film?
yeah. Oh, I thought this was it.
Oh,
I thought, wow, this is much sooner than I thought it was gonna be. And I'm looking at this thing, going, okay, this ain't no sequel. First of all, they forgot a word, so at that point I knew it wasn't the sequel.
Right. Okay. Well, The Empire Strikes was written by Archie Goodwin, with artwork by Carmine Infantino and Gene Day. The letterer is Rick Parker. Consulting editor is Jim Shooter. And the cover art, now, the cover, it does have a little signature at the bottom. It says Infantino Wiacek.
Yeah.
So,
Carmine Infantino and Bob Wiacek.
Okay, so they did the cover.
They did the cover, yes. It's a beautiful cover. I love this cover. Now, when I first saw this when I was a kid, it really drew me in. This was so impactful because you had the movie characters in a very dramatic situation. The composition of the stormtroopers all pointing their blasters at 3PO carrying Luke. Also, the surrounding structures also pointing at 3PO made it all work. So everything was all pointing right at the center of the page, and here was C-3PO carrying Luke, something you'd never seen before.
Even to the point of the words, The Empire Strikes, have that kind of crawl feel where the bottom is smaller than the top of the letters, so they're actually pointing towards the center of 3PO as well.
Yeah, very, very Star Wars-esque. Plus, I always love a cover that has a starfield as a backdrop.
I would have to agree with that.
It just makes it seem just so that much more vast.
And it has the little stars going beep, beep, beep. And whenever I do face painting, whenever I add stars to something, it just automatically pops it.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So,
look at all the stars in the background. And if you look really closely, you can see R2 hiding in the back.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, he's very well hidden back there. The trooper's like, nah, we're not really concerned with you. We want this really strong protocol droid. Man, this guy can carry a farm boy. This is a very, very strong droid. You know what? We should really explain this cover. We didn't really go into that part yet.
Okay. Well, so we have the classic Marvel Star Wars comic logo. So you have Star Wars in giant red letters with a yellow outline, and then the Empire Strikes right below it in the kind of crawl format. And right in the center of the comic is C-3PO, a buffed out C-3PO.
Yeah, look at the pecs on that droid.
He's holding on to Luke Skywalker, who's passed out in his arms, and R2's kind of hidden behind him. And that's kind of in the middle ground. And in the foreground, but on all the sides, so you get the very edge of the page is filled out with stormtroopers that are very, very close up, that are all pointing their blasters right at 3PO in the middle ground.
What does that one stormtrooper say?
There's the wounded rebel spy. Vaporize him and the droids.
I'm sorry, what does he call him?
The rebel spy.
The rebel spy.
Well,
Yeah,
it took me a minute. It's kind of late.
Even back in 1978, they were taunting me.
Oh.
I knew they weren't talking about me there. Can you believe that? Even back then. See, all the troopers are looking away from me. One trooper even says, "Don't look behind you," but there's Rich Woloski. He'll never be that rebel spy.
Oh.
It says it right there.
I think you're lying.
I'm not lying. It says it right there. Just don't look too closely.
You're a lion.
Nope. Okay, now, what do you think about this cover art?
Okay, well, for one thing, we have a very obvious focal point, but I think that's really cool. I mean, it's a very dynamic cover, so I love that. And I think it's interesting how the colors flow from the white troopers. You know, it's very bright in your face, and then it kind of gradually fades to the background of the dark black star field. And so there's lots of depth to this piece. And 3PO really stands out in his gold, and also the Star Wars lettering being outlined in gold really helps, you know, bring 3PO out. I think if those Star Wars letters were any other color, it wouldn't quite work as well. Right. So the colors really work together. But I do have a note. Since Randy is not here, I do have an artistic note on the cover art.
Hold on. Randy? Meanwhile... Was that him? Was he chiming in?
No.
That was me doing my best Randy Martinez impression.
That was very cute.
Thank you very much.
So here's my artistic take on this. Now, I know that, I mean, this would really grab a kid's attention. Did it grab your attention?
Oh, big time.
I mean, even beyond The Empire Strikes, words.
There's so much action going on in there.
There is a lot going on. I mean, it's very busy, even with that nice focal point. You know, you got like 4 stormtroopers here. They're all very detailed. You've got 3PO. He's very detailed. You know, the line work and stuff. There's a lot of lines and a lot of things going on. And I want to contrast this with some more contemporary Marvel comics that I've just started reading.
Oh.
Because I'm really into what Marvel's doing with the MCU, so I figure I should really start and read some Marvel comics. I really want to devote some attention to Marvel because they are just doing good things all over.
Oh, I hadn't noticed.
So I'm starting with the 2014 Captain Marvel comics by Kelly Sue DeConnick. And the cover art is much, much simpler. I mean, usually you have this hero shot of Captain Marvel, and there's no word bubbles, there's no title, it's just the picture.
It's very minimalistic.
Very minimalistic, and Captain Marvel in like giant letters. And so, and honestly, these covers are perfect for use as your iPhone wallpaper. Which I'm currently using
they were thinking about that.
Yes, they were.
Now, is this a variant cover or is this the main cover to this issue of Captain Marvel?
So as far as I know, this is a main cover because that's what came in my Marvel Unlimited app. So I wouldn't think they would do variant covers.
Well, nowadays, every issue of every comic has got like 15 variant covers.
Right. Oh, yeah, exactly. So I just think it's interesting how there not only are there trends for your clothing, like 1970s clothing to today, but there's definitely trends for artwork as well. So, and you see there's not a lot of line work there. You know, it's very, very much... Bam, here's Captain Marvel. That's what you're reading. So I think in today's world, that really works.
Well, you know what? Let's read some Facebook comments, because as always, we put up this issue cover art and let our Facebook Skywalkers run rampant with it.
Yeah.
We always say, hey, post your comments. What do you got to say? How do you describe this cover art?
Yeah, so let's read some of these comments, and a lot of them had to do with 3PO right here, because he is really the hero of this cover. And Randy Crane says, wow, C-3PO looks a lot more heroic on this cover than he does in the movies ever. And I love Laura Bryce's comment. She says, it looks like C-3PO is having a superhero dream, complete with really weird looking stormtroopers.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, and Travis Salter kind of goes along those lines and says, wow, 3PO has a really wide stance for a protocol droid. And since when did he get so strong?
Since they needed him to lift up Luke Skywalker?
Yeah.
It kind of carries a plot point. So that's when he got so strong.
All right, Richard, do you want to read some of these other thoughts?
All right. Ryan Street said, "Wow, I'm loving this cover. C-3PO looks like he's on droid steroids." Oh, there's something new for Olga's Cantina at Galaxy's Edge. Droid steroids.
Wow.
And the Stormtrooper blasters are really cool looking. But why is Luke called a rebel spy? Now I must know. Well, I think we already went over that because they were mocking me in 1978.
Yep, that's it. So Diane Burke-Tassin says, "Can't remember the story and the comic book is too buried to find. Was this the era of dangerously pointed chins?" And I think looking through some of these pictures later, perhaps there's some Luke Skywalker questionable artwork here. That's really funny.
Yeah. Now, Jim Pruitt says they're on a planet with no atmosphere. No wonder Luke is dying. That's a good point. The space backdrop is like right there. It's not far in the distance.
Right.
Now, Robert Lindbergh says the Swedish repainted version has a bootleg feel to it. And we're looking at it right now.
Oh, wow.
However, you know what? I would say that all of these classic Marvel Star Wars comics all feel Star Wars bootlegged.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good painting. Although I think it looks more like a line, like it was drawn.
Yeah, if you had put out these issues and didn't put the Star Wars title on it, as a kid, I would have said, "Oh, someone's ripping off Star Wars."
Oh,
because they all have such that bootleg feel to them.
Right, they're not. It's not like quite on the character.
Yeah, look at R2's head; it's so squat. The Stormtrooper eyes aren't exactly. They're backwards.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah, and 3PO being like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger 3PO.
Wow.
So all of these have such a bootleg feel.
That is funny, but Brian Jonas, he says, "I've always liked this cover. While it is not subtle in the way everything draws you into the center of the page, it's very effective and dynamic."
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll round it off with Michael Cannon and said, "When I first saw this, the first thing that came to mind was Michelangelo's Pietà. Composition-wise, like Randy typically points out, everything is drawn to bring your focus to the center of the cover. Looking forward to this episode."
Well, thank you, Michael. And say hello to Chickafant.
Yes.
All right, Sarah, what were your initial thoughts on this issue?
Okay, so first of all, I turn the page to page 1, and I see Stan Lee presents Star Wars, the greatest space fantasy of all. And I realized as I read that this is the first classic Marvel we're recording since Stan Lee passed away.
Oh, that's very, very
and
true.
And it gave me a pang.
Oh.
I was like, oh man. That was my initial thought.
Okay. Well, I'm sure George Lucas looked at that back in 1978 and said, excuse me, think you're leaving off a name and putting a name where it doesn't belong.
Oh, well, it gave me a pang. So
okay. Well, you know what? We'll leave it there then.
Okay.
I thought this issue was action-packed from beginning to end. Our heroes are going back to Yavin 4 to hopefully get a little R&R. Then everything spirals downward and then just keeps on going. I love the concept of the wheel, which is like Las Vegas in space. It's pre-Canto Bight. And it's a place where Imperials aren't allowed.
Yeah, that was an interesting twist.
That's very, very interesting, which we'll get into that when we get into the story. It's a well-structured issue, and it really leads into the continuation, and you just want more. As soon as you get to that last page, because the drama heightens, you just want more.
Yeah, I agree. And in fact, this episode, I'm going to call it episode, but this issue is really a first act. And I did enjoy this arc a lot because you have our heroes that we're used to seeing. There's no extra characters. It's Luke and it's Leia and Han and Chewie
and the droids.
3PO and the droids. Yeah. So I really liked that it began there and then gradually you added the complications with at first the first Empire ship, starship, and then you go to a new location, the wheel. So it's one of my favorite story things where you start small and just keep adding and adding.
Oh, yeah. Now, let's get into the story. Sarah, you'll be our Randy for this episode.
Okay.
So tell everyone what's going on with the splash page where the Millennium Falcon is jumping through hyperspace.
Oh, it's a super cool picture of the Falcon, and it's got red and yellow lines coming from the back of it, like it's whoosh, moving really fast. And you got your hyperspace blue lines in front of it, and it's a very dynamic shot. And it's the title here. It says The Empire Strikes.
Almost looks like the Empire Strikes Back logo.
It does, a little bit. Just no line around it.
No. All right, now, the narration tells us that the past adventures have taken a toll on our heroes, and it seems like they can all just use a little bit of rest until 3PO. It's always 3PO. He yells for Captain Solo and Princess Leia to come quick. Something's happened to Master Luke. He appears to have shut down.
I love 3PO's take on this.
Exactly. And Leia thinks it's some kind of a trance, and then suddenly R2 starts going nuts.
Oh, no, R2 goes, Freep, Doot. And then he goes, Fredit, Gloop.
You know what? You sound like Ben Burt right there. Very, very good. And all this vleeping and vlooping. Look at that panel right there. It's lifting him off the ground. He's floating in the middle of this panel.
Gloop, gloop. That's my new favorite. Gloop.
All right. Holster that one. And now 3PO translates that R2 was actually recording Luke during his lightsaber practice when he collapsed.
Perfect.
Yeah, do you know what Luke was going to do with this recording? Put it on YouTube.
Oh.
Yeah, it says it right there in the issue. Just, once again, don't look too closely. And in the recording, Luke, with a very Farrah Fawcett hairstyle.
That's who he reminds me of.
There you have it. Oh, there's more resemblances and coming in a few minutes.
Oh my God.
He's having a tough time focusing as he's practicing. He then remembers a meditation exercise that Ben Kenobi mentioned, where you draw yourself in and shut out the physical world. Drift free beyond the ship. Open free among the stars alone. But then he sees something coming as he's meditating. Someone is coming right at him, and he yells, Ben, it's no!
But wait, he doesn't say someone. He says something.
Something.
And someone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, double your danger.
So we don't see what he sees, though.
No. And in the panel, Luke's eyes is bug wide open, and he looks more like Tom Petty than Luke Skywalker.
He looks freaky, and I am like, no,
All right, so far he looks like Farrah Fawcett and Tom Petty.
Yikes.
I want to find the panel where he looks like Sean Cassidy.
But he has Michael Keaton eyebrows.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
I just want to point that out.
Yeah, from Batman, I can see that.
Yeah.
Now, Han, he's convinced that Luke just scared himself with the Force mumbo jumbo, but Leia insists that they find some medical help, and they drop back to sublight speed and come face to face with an Imperial scout who happens to be flying a TIE advanced ship, which is the same type as Darth Vader's.
Okay, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, that's not Darth Vader in that ship.
Okay.
Because Han blows it up in a second.
Right, and it's not a TIE Defender, which
No.
is Thrawn's ship, which we won't know about.
Not a TIE
for
bomber.
several years. Nope.
Not at all. Or TIE Interceptor. It's an advanced TIE ship, which is something that's specific to Darth Vader.
Right.
And that was actually going to be in the storyline, not the storyline, but in the Star Wars storyline. They were going to evolve TIE fighters into those TIE advanced ships.
Oh.
Only they were too expensive. So they said, Vader, you get the only one. You get the prototype. It's going to be a collector's item. Just keep it in its package. Now, the scout in the TIE advanced ship, he informs them that they have entered an Imperial containment zone, so prepare to be boarded. Well, unfortunately, the Millennium Falcon has got a little drifting problem, and Leia yells at Han, and Han yells back, we're in the right quadrant, but the wrong sector. Since the Millennium Falcon has been drifting, they didn't come out of lightspeed at the right area.
And Leia snaps, I'd hate to think of something that stupid might become my epitaph.
You gotta love this dialogue.
Well, honestly, a lot of this dialogue is really good. I think they're capturing the voices of the characters a lot.
Yeah.
Like Han says a lot, like your worship, and a lot of stuff that they end up doing, they snip back and forth in The Empire Strikes Back.
Well, it's very much that 1930s dialogue that Lucas captured in Star Wars.
Yeah, but it's love it.
Yeah,
you know
it's heightened, but it works. It works.
Yeah, so Leia says, "I'd hate to think something that stupid might become my epitaph," and then Han says,
"It won't, your worship. I've always got an emergency plan." But Han does have a plan, of course, and blasts the scout ship with a V-broom. That was their explosion. V-broom.
How's that again?
It goes, V-broom.
I love it.
It was a simple plan. Get them before they get you.
Nice.
See, Han's always got that plan. Might not be the best plan. Not well thought out, but it's a good plan.
Also, Han says, "I don't plan to be here waiting for them, lady. Hopefully we'll be across the zone."
Lady? He's never called Leia lady
No.
before. But before the Millennium Falcon can blast out of there, they see a large ship which has been attacked and is now just a smoldering hunk of debris. But this ship carries the House of Tag markings. See, Tag comes right back into the fray again. So this is not a good thing. If a Tag ship has been attacked and just now reduced to a smoldering hunk of junk floating in space.
No.
Ooh, well, there's got to be a story behind that. And floating from that ship, they see a guy wearing rebel armor.
Right, which is orange and blue, apparently. Interesting. But the orange, I guess, is what you're supposed to take from that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not really armor. It's the rebel flight suit.
Right.
And Han and Chewie pull him inside the Falcon. He's half conscious as he mumbles that he was a prisoner of the Empire, and they brought these guys, these prisoners, out here to make it look like the rebellion hit the Tag ship.
So it's like a cover-up.
Exactly.
Okay.
So someone on the inside, they got it up for the Tag family.
Wow. And once again, this is referring to, is it Admiral Tag?
Yeah, General Tag.
Okay.
General Cassio Tag.
What? How do you know that name?
Come on. Come on.
Okay.
Why'd you even ask me that?
I know.
All
I'm
right.
silly.
All right. Then what happens in the story?
So just then, a Star Destroyer headed by Commander Strom and several TIE advanced ships begin to fire on the Falcon. But Han has a plan.
As always.
And he intends to land on the wheel.
Oh my goodness.
Now this is really cool. You get this great full panel page.
A splash page.
Okay, a splash page of this new location, and I was instantly reminded of the Freemaker Adventures.
Exactly.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. And didn't we reach out to
Bill and Bob
and ask them if that wheel was inspired by the classic Marvel's wheel?
And knowing their fandom, absolutely it was.
I don't think they ever got back to us.
I can't, you know what? We'd have to listen to our interview with them, because we must have talked about it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay, we'll have to re-listen to that. But
hey, you know what? Good catch on you for getting that.
Oh, yeah. No, I was immediately reminded of that. And even in the Lego Freemaker Adventures, that's what it's called, is the wheel.
The wheel, right.
Only it is, I don't think it, on the wheel in Freemaker Adventures, it's not what is this called? A gambling station?
Yeah, a casino.
Yeah, it's not a casino. It's just a place that has like different levels. You have like the lower wheel, which is, the dregs of society. Then you have like the middle class, and then you have the high class.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, back to this
Back to the story. Now,
because this wheel, the narrative describes it as its size makes it appear closer than it is, but the wheel's reputation does not rest on its size. There are other constructions in the galaxy larger, more awesome. The wheel is a monument to pleasure, to risk, to greed, and to those with the need or the desperation, it is also a monument to life and death.
Wow.
Now,
That's a passage.
It is, but what that's really trying to say is that it's a space gambling center.
That has it all.
It's a space Las Vegas.
It's got it all. Soup to nuts. Now, Leia mentions that her father fought the building of this place since it is so degrading. It's a gambling mecca, so of course Han loves it. And as a bonus, this is a no Empire zone.
Oh.
They are not allowed anywhere near this place. However, Strom doesn't care about those rules and sends troops into the wheel.
Uh-oh.
He doesn't care about those rules. Who does that remind you of?
That reminds me of you.
Oh, there you go. There you have it. Now we're done the same thing.
Oh, you're funny.
All right, now, this doesn't bode well for Senator Greyshade, who looks like he borrowed a spare cape from Doctor Strange. Look at that. Look at that collar.
Oh
so
my
pointy.
Goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like half Japanese, like
Samurai
thing, but then it's got like this crazy collar. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it was done by the same artist.
Yeah.
Now, Greyshade, he gets into it with Strom and drops some exposition as to why the Empire should stay out of the Wheel's business. Much funding for the Empire's military comes from the tax on the Wheel's earnings. And if troopers are haunting the place, well, that will scare away customers because there's a lot of illegal activity going on there. And catch this. Greyshade says even the Emperor understands that.
Name drop.
If you're going to drop anyone's name, it should be the Emperor.
Well, okay, so I have a question. Like, all this money talk, like, I get it now because I'm older and understand, like, politics and money and all that. Well, you know, they work together. But as a kid, well, you didn't read this. You would just look at the pictures.
Yeah.
But, like, as a kid, would you understand this?
I'd get the idea behind it, but I couldn't really repeat it back.
Okay, right.
So, yeah, it's maybe a little advanced for a 7 or 8-year-old. But I'm glad that it doesn't talk down to its readers.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's kind of like, wow, that's some high concept stuff.
Now, Strom tells him that the rebels who just landed there on the Wheel just destroyed the ship that was delivering the Wheel's profits to their bank.
Uh-oh,
All
well,
now Greyshade is on board with letting the Empire in, but he wants one of them alive for questioning.
Yep.
And Strom agrees, but doesn't want any of the rebels to be left alive since they could verify that they didn't destroy the tag ship.
Right, so Strom kind of agrees with him as he's talking to him. But,
and then tells his troops,
Yeah.
don't kill all of them, wink, wink.
Right. And the troops, they get
And the
it.
troops wink back, and Strom's like, are you going to wink at me or not? I am winking, sir.
Oh my goodness. All right, so that is Strom and Greyshade, but now we cut to R2 and C-3PO, who is still carrying Luke, so he's getting a good workout here, and they're trying to find the med bay since Luke is still unconscious. What a time to be unconscious. Not a good time. Come on, Luke.
Well, if you had a droid as strong as 3PO apparently is, wouldn't you always feign unconsciousness? So
No.
It carries you around everywhere.
Yeah, but you'd want to look at things. I'd want to look at that scarf on the wall, or play that game,
Which page are you looking
at? Or that
What do you-
the Ahsoka ring. You'd want to go shopping.
The only thing that's on Luke's mind right now. He wears the same clothes in every single issue. I think shopping is low on his priority list.
Okay. Well, let's go back to Luke, and he is being carried by 3PO, and troopers round the corner and shout, "Vaporize them! The droids, right along with the rebel!" Now, how do you vaporize droids? Do they vaporize too?
No, their blasters don't vaporize. They just shoot
Okay.
and leave a big hole.
All right. Interesting.
But now, how do these troopers know that they are the rebels?
Maybe the droids tipped them off?
But it's Star Wars. There's droids everywhere.
Okay. I don't know. You know what? That's a plot hole.
It is. You know what? Let's just scrap this whole episode.
No. Let's go to the end here.
All right. We're almost there. Now, Greyshade and his droid, Master Com, who I keep looking at this as master.com, because there's a slash in between the master and the com.
Wait, where is this?
The last page.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
So it looks like it's like master.com. These issues were so far ahead of their time.
Yeah.
Now, Gray Shade and the droid see the others.
That's really funny. Okay.
All right, now, Gray Shade and the droid, they're seeing Han and Leia and the troopers all battling it out, and he recognizes his adversary in the Senate, Leia Organa. Now, this just got real for him, and now it's time to act.
Wow. And we should note that Gray Shade is seeing this in the view screen.
Yeah, monitor, yeah.
Yeah, monitor. So, wow. So he's not actually there seeing her, but now he knows that she's there, but she doesn't know that he's there. So what's going to happen
Oh, boy.
in the next issue? The Ultimate Gamble.
We'll have to wait another 15 months to find out.
Hope not.
Or I hope not either. So that is a perfect ending right there. So Sarah, after all that, what are your afterthoughts?
So I mean, I really liked this issue. I think like when we have the other characters like Ameza and everyone who I don't really have a connection with, it's hard for me to get into the comic as much. I mean, as much as we read the stories, it just doesn't have a connection to me. So I like that this has mostly our heroes, but then you introduce just a couple extraneous characters like Gray Shade and Strom, who you understand them immediately. Like one's an Imperial and he wants this, and Strom is, he wants this. So you get it. And I thought, I mean, I was engaged the whole time and I liked it. And I thought also a lot of the dialogue really captured these characters, like 3PO. They had him down. I thought the Leia and the Han bickering, is very, very much
Star
before
Wars.
its time in terms of Empire Strikes Back. There's a lot of your worship and princess and stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Now for me, I think this is one of the issues where there is not a wasted panel.
Ooh.
There's been a couple of issues before where you could have cut this panel or cut that panel, but not this issue. It really takes off and just keeps going panel after panel after panel. And everything in this issue worked, like the dialogue you said, the pacing, the structure, maybe not so much the artwork.
Yeah.
And do you think at some point Gray Shade will enter the multiverse of madness?
I think there's every possibility.
I think so too. Now, what is your favorite line of dialogue?
Okay, I have one. So, when 3PO is saying that Master Luke is out of order, what does he say? He's shut down?
He's shut down.
Yeah. And R2's like, Verdeek, gloop, blah, blah, blah. And C3PO's like, I'll thank you to keep a civil audio amplifier in your housing dome.
Okay, maybe not that line is Star Wars.
No, but it's so funny.
It is.
I read it and I giggled. I'm like, what? Since when does 3PO say that?
Exactly. That's your favorite line. Okay.
It is my favorite line.
Now, my favorite line comes when Senator Gray Shade, he's talking about Commander Strom and says, nature seems to have compensated for his lack of hair by making him exceptionally thick-headed.
Nice.
That's an awesome put down.
That is.
I'm going to holster that one.
I'm wondering if the person who came up with that had hair, and one of his rivals at Marvel did not have hair.
So this is something out of real life.
Yes.
Okay, possibly.
That's what I'm thinking.
Now, what is your favorite panel?
Okay, so I just love the Falcon. And any panel with the Falcon is just going to take precedence. So, in this one, which is page 10 in the actual comic, on the top right, you get a picture of the Falcon, and it's evading the Imperial light cruiser, and it's in the blackness of space. So once again, we have that lovely space backdrop with the fun little stars. And the Falcon is just moving so fast that half of it is being converted into those motion lines. And in the motion lines, you have vroom.
It's kind of like when Fred Flintstone runs and his feet turn into those spiraling wheels.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, so half of the Falcon is like these lines, and the lines go beyond it. So it's just really moving, and it's evading the light cruiser, which, is shooting at it, but it just evaded it, and it's really cool.
Okay. I'm going to say, for me, my favorite panel of this issue is the splash page where the wheel is revealed, and the Millennium Falcon is racing toward it. I think you had gone over earlier how beautiful this one full panel is. You have starships all around it, and you have this sunburst in the background, which is illuminating the wheel from the underside.
Yeah.
So the lighting just works out perfectly. Love this.
And I do have to mention, piggybacking off that, I mean, if you look at a comic, and now that I've been reading more comics, I'm kind of getting this, but there's a pacing to it. Because when you're reading books or reading comics, it's hard for me to pace myself. Like, I just read. I read quick because I've always read books. And so with comics, when you have a big splash page like that, it forces you to stop and just admire the picture. And it really helps you pace your read through the comic. Okay. So I like that.
Yeah, good point. All right, what is your most non-Star Wars moment or line of dialogue?
Okay.
Or did you already go through that one in your favorite line of dialogue?
No, my most non-Star Wars moment is Luke, who does not look like Luke.
Nope.
He looks like, once again, a mixture of Farrah Fawcett, Michael Keaton, and who did you say?
Tom Petty.
And Tom Petty. I don't know what Tom Petty looks like.
Looks like that.
Okay. But this is like creepy. Especially this one panel where Luke... so Luke is meditating, and they have like 5 panels of him meditating, with each successive one getting closer and closer to just his face, until you end in this extreme close-up of Luke with his eyes open, saying no, and there's like tiny little eyeballs. They're not even eyeballs. Oh, it's creepy. And his lips are weird, and his eyebrows are weird, and his hair is weird, and there's too many lines on his face. It's like, when did Luke become an old man?
And what does it say in that word bubble? It says, "Stop dragging my heart around."
Yeah, so that's mine.
All right.
I'm sorry, I have one more thing to say. There's another panel on here that's not just Luke's face, but the first one where he's starting to meditate. Is he like drying dishes? What's going on here? Like, he's holding this white dish-looking thing in his hands, and it looks like he's like wiping it clean.
When you want to just take a couple of moments off for yourself, Sarah, you go into the kitchen, you do some dishes.
I do, but there's not a kitchen like that in the Falcon.
Yeah, how do you know that?
Because I know, I've seen the Cape Room.
And we've been to it on Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
You know what? Next time we're there, ask him, hey, where was Luke drawing in this dish?
What is that?
It almost looks like a bedpan.
Like, what is he
I didn't want to bring
holding?
that up, but you forced me.
Okay. I just don't understand.
I don't know, but
Farrah Fawcett Luke is drying dishes.
Farrah-
Okay.
Now, for me, it's when 3PO is carrying Luke like a rag doll. Now, come on. Even as a kid, I didn't buy that at all.
No?
Not at all.
Okay.
It took me out of it, but I thought, yeah, it's a comic book. You got to run with it. And will someone please paint fur on Chewbacca's face? Please?
Poor Chewie.
Yeah, a couple of issues ago, he did have a fur face. Now it's gone again. And why is R2's head so squat? Looks like someone pressed down on it.
Richard, you need to go back into the 70s and
Say, guys, come on.
Come on, man.
I know you don't have a ton of references, but you have at least some production stills. You have something to go off of.
Right.
There's no excuse for this. All right, Sarah, now before we wrap up this episode of Classic Marvel Star Wars Comics, we got to wrap it up like they do in the actual issues with a Star Wars letter column.
Okay.
Now, this is when
this is not in my episode.
No, not in the Kindle version.
Oh.
Now, this is when fans could write into Marvel and submit letters, and it's called Star Words. Now, this is the one that I pulled from this issue, and it reads, I think one element of this comic that is missing is a really great bad guy. You have Darth Vader, why not use him? Are you waiting for the Star Wars sequel? Even if you don't put Vader in the plot right away, why not have him run into a time warp while he's floating around and maybe have him land on Earth?
What?
So this letter was written by Linda and Carol Mullaney. Address 450 Lake Ave, Lyndhurst, New Jersey.
Why do they put the address
I don't
in
know
there?
why they would print their addresses.
Oh my gosh.
I got no idea.
If they use Darth Vader and the good guys keep thwarting him, then Darth Vader is diminished.
Yes.
So you got to be careful with those bad guys. But what are they talking about when you have Vader put him on Earth?
They were just coming up with some ideas.
Okay,
You know, you go through a time warp, and why not just have him land on Earth?
but Star Wars happens in a galaxy far, far away.
I'm sure they were like 6 years old.
This doesn't sound like a 6-year-old question.
Maybe they had some help from their mom, or
I was like, what 6-year-old talks about elements of comics? I applaud them for writing in, and now I think we should send some stickers to 450 Lake Avenue.
let's do that. Well, that wraps up this episode of Classic Marvel Star Wars Comics, where we just went through Star Wars number 18, The Empire Strikes. And we'll see everyone back for issue 19, titled The Ultimate Gamble. And we'll see if they stick with that title like they never do.
All right, we want to thank Rob Dellinger for writing the jingle to this podcast. And please check out all the rest of the shows on the Skywalking Network, including the Culture Popcast and Sabers and Spells and Skywalking Through Neverland. You can find us all at skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
We want to thank everyone for posting on our Facebook group, telling us what they thought about the cover art. And if you Skywalkers have any insight or any comments you want to make to what this issue is all about, or our comments, if they want to give us their comments, where do they go?
They can go to Twitter or Instagram. We are at SkywalkingPod. You can also go to Facebook and search Skywalking Through Neverland and join our Facebook group, because that's where we have great conversations and that's where we post pictures for you guys to be a part of these episodes. You can also email us. We are share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. And if you like this episode, please go to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher and give us a review. We love that.
So, for Classic Marvel Star Wars Comics, this is Richard.
And this is Sarah saying, Fleep Gloop.
Krapow!
How do we start this again? Wow, it's been over a year?
It's been since last May, right before Solo came out.
Right, because that's when all the shit happened.
Cookies!
Too bad I was not recording that.
Man!
To 1986. And now I am here to give you my new 21st century perspective, since this is the first time I'm reading these comments. Almost got through it.
Wasn't gonna say anything. So it's kind of like the Colossus from Star Wars Resistance.
Oh, what do you mean?
The wheel in the Freemaker Adventures.
Okay. Oh, right. It's like a
it's like a landing bay.
Yeah.
You have some launch bays there. You have a couple of dining areas.
Well, it's really big. I mean, the Freemakers, they had their whole place where they would fix up ships there.
Yeah, the repair station.
Yeah, their repair station. So it was big enough to have like different businesses, and I kind of look at it as like a flea market almost. But you have like the flea market section, you have the car repair section, but then you have like the excellent shopping section. So it's more of like a shopping mall.
And someone's selling paintings they did
Yeah.
that morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone's selling parking meters. I once bought a parking meter at a flea market just because I could.
That's why that's laying around.
That's still out in our backyard.
Oh my gosh.
I can't get rid of that thing.
Done?
Done.